Ready?
Off you go. Right.
Okay. So in our basic pack, this is what comes with it, and this is all our additional stuff that we add in. So start with my big tray in the corner, and you just start tidying up really. Then we've got our radial drape that will go on top of that, and then our cleaning sticks that come with the pack. So always put them there first because that's what the doctors will be using first. And just tidying it as we go along. I then move over to our covers. So this will cover our transducer when we get round to it. And this will cover our lead screen. Sharps, always important. And our bowls for our fluids. And we've got all of our swabs, making sure they're the right way so we can grab them and not unfold them. They come with these little strings around them to keep them all intact. And we can just get rid of them. So, moving on, we've got our kidney dish that we set to the side, and we've got our supply that comes in with our pack. So most of our consultants will start with a lidocaine, then a slip syringe, and we've got this big bore needle to drop that. I'll then move over to nitrate. For our nitrate, we will drop 2 mils of our solution, which is 1 milligram per mil. And then once we have 2 mils of that, we'll draw up the remaining to 20 mils of heparin saline. So that'll give us 100 mics per mil.
And is it GTN that we use?
Yes, it is indeed. Then move over to our last syringe for this, and that will be our heparin, where we drop 5,000 units in 5 mils with that. I have 2 remaining syringes for our heparinized saline. And I'll put them over to the side. Some of our consultants use the scalpel, some don't, so I always just put it into our sharps, just so it's out the way and safe for everyone. I'll then move over to our saline.
And this is heparinized saline, is that right?
Yes, this is heparinized saline. It contains 1,000 units in 500 mils. And for me, I fill up 2 bowls. One that the consultants can use and one that I can use. We'll drop. I'll then move over to our sheaths. So this here is our 6 French sheath that we'll use for our plus minuses and some angiograms as well. Depends on the consultant again. It comes with their needle to start with. I'll just flush that through.
So do you flush everything?
I flush everything, just to make sure that we're not getting any air that we don't want. Then we have our introducer that I will flush as well. And finally the sheath itself. So I always remove this cap and place that to the side, and just flushing through all of the taps and ensuring that there is no air bubbles in any of the line. We'll then put the introducer in to the port here, being very careful not to bend it or damage it, and once it's in you'll hear a nice click. That's us. I'll then place that over to the side, and last but not least there's a thin wire that's used to gain access up the artery. And I'll place that over to the side and then finally a wet swab covering the pair just to ensure that it doesn't get lost. Finished with my scissors and tidying up. Here we've just got a techoderm that the consultants will use just to ensure the sheath stays in place once they've gained access. And then moving over to our manifold and transducer. So these come separately, and there's some little caps that we save off at the side. So I'll start over here.
What is the manifold used for?
So we use these to measure pressure within the artery and the aorta. It gives us accurate observations throughout, so we can measure any parameters and make sure the patient is safe. It also allows us to inject contrast using this here, and that gives us the pictures for our angiograms. So you start by connecting the syringe into here and ensuring that the connection for this is tightly secured. This will be for our contrast, and it'll be one of the first things that you prep once over at the table. We remove this extension and place it over at the side, as some consultants will use it and some won't. That's that for the moment, and then we're over here. This can get a little bit complicated, but the main thing is to ensure that your connections in the centre are tight and firm. Turning your tap away so it locks that off from the air, and you can remove this cap and also this little protecting cover as well. Then coming up to the top, there's a three-way tap with a little extension that you disconnect from the tubing. This is used by a couple of consultants for their angiograms, but mainly it's used with a co-pilot system when proceeding with PCI and stenting. You're then left with this connection here, which perfectly goes onto here. Ensuring that that's nice and tight, that is that all set up, ready for you going over.
So one end of the manifold connects to contrast?
Yes.
And the other end connects to saline?
This connects to, this connects to heparinized saline, which can be flushed, and this connection here is used as your A-line.
So it gives you a pressure waveform, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
And then placing that over to the side, we're then left with our J wire. So this wire will go within a catheter, and it will help guide us up to the arteries. So I'm taking this just forward to the edge of the wire to take out that bend, so it's easy to push down the catheter.
And you have to flush the wire?
Ideally, yes. It's not 100. It's not necessary, but it is definitely preferred. And placing that to the side. I'll then take my drugs, and that is the setup complete.
Thank you, Lewis.